Assalamu alaikum. You're listening to Tech Sisters Stories. Tech Sisters is a community that supports Muslim women in tech through storytelling and sisterhood. My name is Grace, and I get to interview the amazing women in our community, share their stories and the lessons they learned. I hope you enjoy the show. We have Golnoush as our latest Tech Sister. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for coming.
Walaikum assalam, Rishna. Thank you for having me and thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Yeah, no worries. I love doing my research and gentle stalking, I call it. So very light, friendly stalking.
Well done. You've done a good job.
Thank you. So how about we start at the very beginning? How did you get into all of this?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it was following my own struggles with specifically women's health, hormonal health, and finally being diagnosed with endometriosis. So I struggled for many years with very painful periods, hormonal symptoms of hormonal imbalance, fatigue, generally not very, struggled to keep the quality of my life where it should be. Mm-hmm. And I ended up spending a lot of money, over £6,000 having to go private to get the testing support that I needed in order to help myself take charge of the things that were within my control for the needs of my body. And things got significantly better. And that's when I started kind of questioning why I went through what I went through, how many more women and men go through conditions, symptoms that are not listened to and are not provided sufficient support and guidance from. And I thought, how can I make service, the testing and guidance and support that I receive available to everyone without all the obstacles and the huge amount of costs. Mm-hmm. And so here we are with ScreenMe.
MashaAllah, it's so important what you're doing. It's really... No, I know that endometriosis is really notorious for being one of those diseases that take a very long time to diagnose. I guess several issues with that. One of them is lack of access to doctors that actually listen to symptoms. So having a tool like this is really crucial, mashallah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so many people suffer in silence. And we never really think. When I was at university, I never really thought that it was acceptable to walk into an office, contact someone and say, I've got excruciating period pains. Maybe I need help or maybe I need special consideration. I had to miss one of my exams because I simply couldn't walk to my exam. And, that's its worth really, but it shouldn't really have to be. It should have to get to that point for people to listen or for us to ask for help or do something about it. So yeah, endometriosis is one, but I think there are many other conditions and many other hormonal imbalances that are often simply brushed to the side when women do visit a GP and say, I think something's wrong. I don't think things are like they should be. I don't feel good. You're not listened to because although the healthcare system is amazing at what it does, which is diagnosis most of the time, unless you have endometriosis. But although they are amazing at what they do, they are diagnostic. So they are a reactive system, not a preventative system, and certainly not one that helps you with the little things that make a huge difference, like your nutrition, your lifestyle, and so on.
Yes, absolutely. I remember when I was growing up, my mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and getting the diagnosis was such an ordeal for my family because at first it was really hard for her to vocalize or to put into words what she was feeling. And she kept using words to describe it, like her foot was going numb or she'd get pins and needles all the time. And people would say it was due to weight or they would say sinusitis. And it took a long time before she finally was able to see a neurosurgeon. This is in America as well.
Yes.
And then we got the diagnosis and alhamdulillah, she was able to catch it still relatively early in the course of the disease, where it didn't have as many negative effects. But that's another one. There are lots of invisible or diseases that have symptoms that are hard to see, hard to describe, that have very serious effects.
Absolutely. And it comes down to, all right, so we've got all this really a pandemic within a pandemic of diseases that are not recognized, that are diagnosed far too late, and most of which can be prevented if only they had taken action earlier. Mm-hmm. Or if the healthcare And so this is when it comes to prevention, which is very, very important. When is the best time to prevent disease? Well, it's before a child is conceived. If you invest in the health of women and men of reproductive age, and you create healthier men and women who go on to become pregnant, first of all, they're more likely to get pregnant faster. And secondly, they are going to have healthier children with lower risk of preventable diseases. And that's science.
Yes, absolutely. I remember reading a story or a study recently talking about sperm health now compared to a generation or so ago. And maybe I'm misremembering this. So I'm always kind of fuzzy on medical studies, so you might jump in to correct me. But a lot of it had to do with obesity and how that was affecting the health of the sperm, affecting fertility rates overall. And of course, that has such knock-on effects in childhood health and going up through a lifetime.
Absolutely. Sperm counts are at their lowest in the past 50 years. And there's multiple reasons for that, but majority of them are related to the way we're living. So the food we're eating, our lifestyle, the endocrine disruptors, which is like the toxins that we're constantly exposed to. And all of these things, they really create massive hormonal issues and hormonal imbalance. So that our hormones are unhappy, and that has knock-on effects on our fertility. As women, we know that because we see it on our periods.
Yeah.
So we have more and more women who are having irregular periods, missing periods. More women are being diagnosed with PCOS. We know that a lot more women are complaining about vaginal health and symptoms of the vagina as well. And so when it comes to hormones and our metabolism, really at the heart of it is our lifestyle, our diet, and the things that we can really take control of.
Yes, absolutely. Even as simple as when the periods start has been getting earlier and earlier. So how does ScreenMe help with this?
So, ScreenMe is a startup. We've just started. Now, our vision is a world free of preventable disease. To start with, we thought the best place to start is by looking at women of reproductive age and men of reproductive age. Is usually women then bring on their partners. The women seem to be more aware of their health.
I can imagine this scenario. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we provide affordable at-home testing of hormones, nutrition, health, gut and vaginal health as well. And then we provide results, doctors' reports, and then consultations with specialist nutritionists and tailored food recipes, lifestyle guidance in order to improve hormonal balance, maximize fertility, and help women really take charge of their health.
Mashallah, that's completely holistic.
Yeah, because we're not competing with the NHS.
Yeah.
We're not here to medicate people. We do provide testing. And if the testing shows something, if it raises a red flag, then we can accelerate your route into the NHS. So if we believe that something is medically wrong, that needs medical attention and medical diagnosis and treatment, you will then be referred to your GP, who, because you've done your testing, is now in a much better position to set the ball rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, that's such a crucial thing, because here you can describe your problems to the GP, but unless they're severe enough that your GP would recommend you to be referred to a specialist, and you're just stuck waiting.
Exactly. And when it comes to fertility, actually, you don't get the testing you need unless you've been trying to conceive and failed to do so for about 2 years. I mean, we're having children later and later. I mean, women are now, half of women in the UK are having their first child after the age of 30 for multiple reasons. But that means that really we may not be in a position where we want to or can wait to be paid attention to or provided testing or given support. So one side is to facilitate access to testing, whether it be you're concerned about your fertility or you're concerned about conditions like PCOS, endometriosis. And then the other side is the support and guidance that relates to your nutrition, your lifestyle, and so on, which the medical community does not help with. And is crucial for healthy fertility, for healthy conception, and also to take control of conditions like PCOS and endometriosis.
Yes, 100%. So, Hannah, I remember there was a medical condition in my family, and we were really struggling to get a referral. We recognized that diet and environment had a large part to play in this. But then you start Googling, and it's overwhelming, all the advice that you get. You don't know where to begin. So having a very clear plan, like if you are suffering from something like this, or you're having these symptoms, try eliminating these foods or getting an air filter or whatever. Having that clear guideline is really helpful, because when you're at that point where you're searching for answers, there's already an emotional distress. You have less mental and emotional capacity to do the research yourself.
Absolutely. And there's so much out there, When I was told, all right, you have endometriosis, I mean, we can either put you on hormones, we don't need to do surgery at the moment, but, otherwise you need to just take care of your diet, your lifestyle, try to reduce inflammation. When I was a scientist, I understood science and I understood the human body, and I still struggled, kind of navigating that space, making those small changes, coming up with a plan. I needed help. So you can only imagine if you're not a scientist in human health and physiology, where do you even start? And Google is filled with rubbish. So, the amount of things I've heard and been asked and seen, it's crazy. So we really need scientific community, the nutrition community, the medical community to come together in order to provide people with the guidance, scientific guidance that is also holistic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you were saying as well that you're in so much pain that on some days you couldn't even walk. So how could you possibly put together a wellness plan when you're in that state?
Exactly. Your anxiety is pretty serious when you're dealing with hormonal imbalance. The smallest things would make me anxious. You're really not in charge of much, and you feel like your body is completely out of control. That's exhausting. It's also frightening, and it was life-changing for me. And I wanted to make that possible for other women.
I really commend you for being in a difficult position yourself and having the energy and the willpower and the ability to take this on and find a solution to benefit other people. Mashallah, it's really important. It's really admirable thing.
Alhamdulillah, I think God has been very much with me.
Alhamdulillah. So let's talk a little bit about your journey as a founder then. So what was the timeline?
So, the idea of it kind of started while I was still doing my PhD.
Right.
I was doing my PhD and, a PhD in gene therapy for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. That's when the idea kind of came between myself and my co-founder. It was forum back. And towards the end of my PhD, it was 2019, was when we entered a competition at the University of Cambridge, where I graduated from. It was a weekend, kind of entrepreneurial weekend. It was meant to be a fun thing. We thought we'll just do it for fun. We had an idea, we thought we'll go and give it a go, just to see what happens. And we ended up winning that competition. And that's when it started, so we won that competition, and suddenly there was interest, and we were told, you should join the accelerator program and do something with this. I think, as so many different things, so many hesitations, when the opportunity presented itself, I was hesitant. And I think that was one of the things that I look back on, and I think I shouldn't have felt that way, and I should have done things differently, is that hesitation and that fear. I was concerned because I wasn't sure if my health, I wasn't sure if it was in me. Second thing was finishing my PhD. Then I was a woman. I was a bit concerned, like, as a woman founder, do I have good chances of success? Can I get investment? And that was intimidating and a bit scary. I was meeting with a lot of men who at times would shake my co-founder's hand and think that I'm the add-on.
The plus one.
Yeah, she's just there making the coffee. And that's intimidating, I mean, my co-founder is absolutely fantastic. Bless him. I don't know if I would be doing this without him. He's always been very supportive, and he's pushed me into the spotlight, and he's been very pro, and he says, your religion, your sex should not be holding you back. If anything, you should be using those cards that you've been given. It's the time for women, and it's the time for women of minority.
Oh, what a great partner. Wow.
Absolutely. He's been very supportive in that way. And so we took those little steps, and it's taken us maybe a bit longer because of my hesitations. And so if I was to go back, I think I would say, you just have to take the bull by the horns. But it's much easier said than done.
Yeah. And also everything happens, according to Allah's timeline. So if if you had dived full in right away, maybe something else wouldn't have happened, or maybe there
Oh,
would have been knock-on episodes.
I agree. SubhanAllah. I think, there is a plan to everything, and I have faith that all of this is not really all within my control.
Absolutely.
Bigger plan, yeah.
So you touched on being a Muslim woman in this health space.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the reaction from the accelerator program, but also like maybe culturally or from the community. What's sort of been the reaction?
I think I think there's always been an element of little surprise or shock whenever I've been on a stage.
Okay.
And just because there aren't enough of us getting on those stages.
Absolutely.
And so it has always been that you always see that people are intrigued, definitely curious when it comes to listening to what you have to say. I think it's been positive, and I haven't faced too many negative responses or reactions when it comes to the general public, when it comes to the academic population, people who are really trying to help and they are supportive. It is different when we're talking about funding and investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so things change at that point. Not as much investment into women founders in general. We do have more funding for male founders, and then even less so for hijabi Muslim women founders.
Mm-hmm.
So that is an area that needs attention. It needs us to raise awareness. We really need to start supporting each other in the Muslim community, because we're such a big community. I think the best way really forward is to start within and start supporting each other and putting each other in positions where our voices are heard, because there are a few of us do have those positions that we can leverage. I think that is the challenge, is to actually get up there, be heard from an investment point of view.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a project that I helped out briefly on called Literacy. It's also a hijabi founder. And the premise of that was a visual symptom tracker for people who did not speak the same language as their doctor. Before going to appointment, they'd be able to record their symptoms in a way that is very accessible for people with low literacy or low language skills. And then when they go to the doctor has a very clear report of what the symptoms are. It's a very similar kind of space. She's also identified a lot of the same things you're going through as a founder, just being the only hijabi there, people being surprised that she was there. Yeah, you're not alone.
Oh, I'm sure I'm not. I'm sure I'm not.
Yeah, so
you have to take it lightly to be able to survive in the kind of table. So you kind of have to just not take it too personally and think there's some things that need to change, and we can change them. And we definitely should be out there encouraging younger Muslim girls to aspire to reach high and make sure they know it's possible.
Yes, absolutely. It starts with the mindset, doesn't it? Because now we have so many tools to make it easy to prototype, to make it faster to have a proof of concept, but you still need the courage and the guts to get up there and present your idea and to take ownership of it.
Yes, exactly. And, I think minority communities, the issue actually starts very young in school. And that's a kind of mindset of, I am not going to be given the same privileges. I'm not going to be given the same opportunities, or that I will be stopped in achieving what I need to or what I want to. And that's what we need to break. It's very important to break those cycles very early on.
Yeah. It's also, and speaking as a parent, it's an interesting balance though, because you want your child to be prepared to have to fight, but you don't want them to give up before they even start. So
you know what? I think it's actually, I don't think anyone told me I was going to fight.
Okay.
So I think it's actually, I was definitely not ready for a fight.
Yeah.
I think if we instill confidence in our children and we instill hope in our children, then when the day comes that they might have to fight, I think they will do it without knowing. I think actually preparing children to fight may make them a bit biased, and they may be expecting a fight, which may make life a bit more difficult when you're getting there. Because who wants to fight? I mean, no one wants to struggle. No one wants resistance. If there's an easier way out, one will take the easier way out. So really, I think it's about making sure that women, especially if the Muslim community, know that it is possible. There's so many opportunities. That they have it in them. They just need to reach for it and work for it. And the obstacles that they encounter, they will overcome.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I had to clarify what I was saying. I didn't mean to be confrontational, to go out looking for something, but to recognize and identify their own boundaries and what they're willing to accept what they're not, and not giving into that.
Absolutely. Absolutely true. There's so much pressure, even when you're as an academic now, business person, entrepreneur, in the UK, that environment is not always Muslim friendly.
Yes, definitely.
And so I can see that there might be difficult to keep your boundaries and be who you are while staying in that environment.
Yes.
And I think you're right. It does require resistance and it does require persistence, but we must do it.
I feel like when you respect your own boundaries and people witness you doing that, then it becomes less strange the next time it has to happen.
Absolutely.
When you say no thank you to the Christmas party or to getting alcohol for the office Christmas present, and then next time it's not such a big deal, then
it's always about I've had when I've been gifted alcohol. A prize was alcohol, and I would I would never. I'd just be like, thank you very much. I don't drink, but I'm sure this person will appreciate it.
That's what we've done too.
So next time they want to gift me, they don't give me alcohol.
Well, we've done that, and then the next time they sent around a gift, they gave us this beautiful box of chocolates, and we were so excited for it. And then we opened it, and they were all alcohol.
Well, alcohol. But it's one step at a time, right? Yeah. We're educating one step at a time.
That's right. SubhanAllah.
Get there. I mean, the other thing, Grace, is also being a hijabi Muslim woman in the fertility scene.
Yeah.
I think that's also very important. I think talking about the Muslim community and Muslim women, there's also a matter of sexual health and fertility health, something that's not often spoken about, something that is a bit of a taboo, something that we really do need to get ahead of. There is a sense of, there are obviously more Muslim women who are not sexually active before being married. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of education that needs to happen in that area, and a lot of false beliefs that need to be broken.
This is a really, really important point, because those things are very deeply ingrained. Those taboos are very deep, and especially with sexual health, fertility, it's so awkward to even open that conversation. Well, it can be.
I think so too. Well, yes, it can be awkward, and that's why.
That's what we need to change. Normalize these conversations.
Whenever I've had to have, it's actually more awkward when you're having these conversations with, not so much the younger population.
Oh, the aunties.
Yeah, that's the harder part. Is kind of talking to the parents about.
I can't even imagine. I'm inwardly cringing so much at the idea of having a talk like that with my mother.
It's hard. It's hard to talk about cervical, tests or, your cervical samples that you need to be doing if you're 30, and even if you're not sexually active past the age of 30, really everyone should be having cervical screening done.
Of course.
And we have a massive population of single Muslim women who are not having cervical screening done because of certain cultural and beliefs and taboos around virginity and how we go about that. So it's a very complicated scene, one that does need to be tackled. We do need to talk about the fact that actually you can get information about your fertility to have a timeline. You can find out what your egg reserves look like. You can find out what your ovulation is like. You can actually invest in your nutrition lifestyle to improve your hormonal health and your egg quality, which means that you will have a better fertility kind of journey, even if you do get married a bit later. We shouldn't be putting pressure on our women or on our girls to get married and have children because it's going to get too late. And that's something that really needs to be spoken about also.
Just because you got married after 25, it doesn't mean that all your eggs are just worthless.
Are going to disappear overnight. Even 30, 35, you're not going to wake up in the morning and your eggs are going to be, gone.
But yeah, no, I get it. It's tough because there are some families, or many families, who are hiding periods from their brothers and fathers. If you're coming from that, where you can't even openly talk about something that is
Absolutely.
a monthly event, going to a cervical screening is a big step.
Yeah, exactly. All right. How many of us lie about being on our period or pretend to pray because we don't want them to know we're not praying?
Or it's Ramadan, so eat in the closet so that no one sees you.
Exactly that. So I think being a hijabi Muslim woman and talking about fertility health, opening these topics, talking about vaginal health, the microbiome field is very new. The bacteria that lives in your vagina, that lives in your gut, which is very important to your health. These things are missing for women and especially for Muslim women.
Absolutely. I'm wondering, have you tried partnering with religious or cultural organizations?
I have not yet, but I'm very open to it. So if anyone is
listening.
If anyone is interested or knows of an organization that that they think would be useful, very open to organizing talks, workshops, and so on. So very, very open to it, and actively looking. So do get in touch with me if you do know of any or yourself own one or are interested.
Mashallah. Can't wait to see what happens from that. That would be really good. Imagine going to a talk that's about, the rights of women and partnering with ScreenMe talking about your fertility health. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely. It would be fascinating. I'm sure some people would get upset, but we're going to need to do it for the good of our children, really.
Definitely. So what is next for ScreenMe? Because mashallah, you're doing so much. And like you said, you're very early on. So what's kind of next in your journey? What are you hoping to achieve?
We've up until this point, we've been creating everything. So creating our platform, our dashboard where people get their results, their reports, their tailored nutrition, recipes and presentations, and also creating our kits that allow you to take your samples from home. And now we've had our first kind of set of customers. And so we've got around 200 customers. We've got babies born, we've got pregnant ladies.
Oh, that's so exciting!
We've got ladies with PCOS, endometriosis. So we've kind of gone through it all, and we're at a point where we also get involved with organizations, like you said, like cultural organizations, health organizations, religious organizations, in order to bring in fertility and hormonal health into those environments.
Fantastic. MashaAllah. Gosh, I had so much fun talking with you today. This has been a really, really great conversation.
No, it's been really good to be here. It's the first time that I've been on a Muslim kind of podcast and talk, and it's great to be able to actually talk about all these topics specifically in that community.
Before we wrap up, there are two questions that I ask everybody. We've already sort of talked about your regrets. What's your greatest accomplishment? What do you take the most pride in?
I must say, I think persevering. I think I am quite proud, even though I don't think I express it to myself even often, is I am quite proud of creating what we've created, and being able to help so many people. I think getting those messages sometimes, and knowing that you've made a difference, someone's life, whether it be from the tiniest thing of thank you so much, I feel so much better, or when you receive a little baby scan. I think I'm just proud of being able to, obviously with the help of everyone around me and first and foremost God, being able to play a little part in other people's life.
SubhanAllah, I'd say it's more than a little part. And I also think give yourself credit for persisting through those difficulties that you mentioned at the beginning of your journey, and the things that are making you hesitate. So being one of the only women in this space, and doing this despite your own pain and physical symptoms. Yeah, mashallah, that's a lot of persistence.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, absolutely. I think alhamdulillah, I'm not afraid to kind of admit that I do struggle with anxiety. I do struggle with pain, but I am proud that I've somehow have been fighting through it.
Mashallah, mashallah. It's like I said, it's a big credit to you and your character, mashallah. And last question. So what is something or someone that you are most grateful for?
It's going to sound cliche. But I don't want to not say it just for the sake of not being cliche. So I just have to be very brutally honest, which is obviously first and foremost God for everything that I've been blessed with. But next is for my parents. I am completely speechless when it comes to saying how grateful I am for having their support and their help, and for the opportunities that they have consistently provided for me to get me to where I am today. It would have been impossible without my father's guidance and wisdom. And he's a successful businessman who's been supporting me at every turn, and without my mum's constant care and prayers.
Mashallah, that's not cliche at all. That's very genuine.
Yes, I mean, I know people sometimes, obviously my parents, but very, very honestly and genuinely, it would, I am grateful for being the person I am today, and I wouldn't have been without them.
Mashallah, beautiful. And is there anything else that you'd like to add, or anything that we didn't cover?
No, obviously, I am here for anyone who may have any questions or need help or want guidance. You can contact me either through Instagram on ScreenMe_health, where we have lots of information and lives, etc. But you can just message me over there. I will receive them directly. Or if you just head to our website, screenme.co.uk, and send a message to the contact us form, I receive those emails directly also. So please do get in touch if you want to partner up for something exciting and fun, or if you need any help or are interested.
Oh, that sounds so great. Mashallah. Thank you again so much for doing this and for having this great talk.
Thank you for having me. It's been absolutely wonderful.
I hope you liked that story as much as I did. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to it. Please consider following us and leaving a review if you like this episode. That really helps us a lot. And if you're a Muslim woman in tech, please go ahead and join our community. It's free, it's fun, it's supportive, it's a great time. That's all for me. Assalamu alaikum.